Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Corona Cast comedy show. Let's begin with a joke. This is a joke from a few years ago. I remember talking to a girlfriend about what movie we should watch. And we were discussing movies, and I mentioned that I had not watched The Notebook. And she was like, "Oh my God, you've got to watch it. You've got to watch it. It's so beautiful. It's my favorite movie." I cried so hard. I remember thinking, why is that a recommendation? Who enjoys crying? Crying is a negative thing. I never go down and say, "Hey, let me go to the local funeral parlor, get a little bit of crying on." Why was crying a recommendation? That is like recommending a restaurant by saying, "Oh my God, have you eaten at the new curry house which just opened? I went there last week. I shat myself. It was beautiful." Now, that, ladies and gentlemen, is a joke which actually had its genesis in me trying to explore the idea of people have failed relationships because they expect unrealistic things from relationships. Another joke which came out of the same exploration of the same idea was a joke about watching the romantic movie with the same woman. And in the middle of the movie, she nudges me, points at the screen in the middle of Love Actually, and she says, "Isn't that nice? Isn't it great the way that he treats her? Why don't you ever treat me like that?" It's a movie. It's a fantasy. Could I bring home a porn movie and say, "Isn't that nice? Isn't it great the way that she treats him? Why don't you ever treat me like that?" With two of your friends. Okay? Again, I was exploring a big idea, and I was just writing lots of little jokes that sort of illustrated it. Now, the reason I bring this up is because whenever I am writing a show, I always have some ideas which I'm trying to discuss, but you want to be funny, you don't want to be preachy. So that is what today's CoronaCast comedy show is going to be about. What is going to happen is I am going to explore 6 new ideas which I'm trying to write jokes about for my next touring show, which is going to start touring in 2021, right? And then I'm going to try to come up with some jokes or tell you the jokes which I've been writing around that big idea, because nobody wants to be preached to. This is why comedians, we have to hide it. Now, nobody wants to be preached to. Nobody wants to be lectured to. Actually, let me change that. If you go to a church, right, you have chosen to be preached to, right? If you go to a university, you have chosen to be lectured to. So you are open to it. But what people don't want is for random lectures and random... There's coughing in the background. That is just Chelsea coughing on food. Don't worry. This is not a corona situation. I'm going to have people sending me like interventions. I think she's okay. I don't have to go run over and do a Heimlich, but I'm available. She's weeping now. She's weeping. She's just hungry. Okay. Well, she'll eat afterwards. Okay. Little bit of deleted scene over there, which would be removed from the DVD. And let's get back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. So as I was saying, people don't want to be preached to. People don't want to be lectured to. So comedians hide the big ideas we're exploring under a bunch of jokes. So just to let you know how the show is going to go, they're going to be an exploration of 3 big ideas and the jokes I'm trying to write from them. Then there's going to be a little intermission where I will chat to you. So if you are in the room, that ask me questions, put in LOLs, just be as interactive as possible, because I will get to all of your comments in the intermission. Then there will be 3 more, and then there will be a final question section. Okay. I also have to take this moment to let you all know that tomorrow I am not doing CoronaCast because I'm doing a preview. What is a preview? This new show, which I am touring in 2021. I do previews where I do early versions of it and I rewrite it, and it's much better than just a Corona cast, which is me rambling. It's jokes which have been edited and shaped. It's like an hour show. There are tickets now for £3.50 where you don't see just my show. You get to see two shows, two previews, my preview and the preview of Lauren Patterson tomorrow. So you get 2 hours of entertainment. I was going to try, let me see, if I type the link in the comments, I hope you all can see it. I know you can definitely see it on Twitch, but either way, if you can't, it's Levy Fringe, and it's Daliso Chaponda and Lauren Patterson. But let's get to these topics, the things which I am going to be trying to explore in my next show. There are lots of them, but the ones which I think could be preachy if I don't do well is, first of all, talking about people being tired of hearing about race, right? That's one of them. The second one, and also people who feel that their history is being erased. I want to talk about that. Another one, I want to talk about people who think George Lucas or J.K. Rowling or Roald Dahl ruined their childhood. Okay, I want to talk about that idea. And I want to talk about money making you sexist, right? Some of them are pretty bizarre. This is why I'm a comedian. Okay, I want to talk about, is exploitation okay for the right price? Okay. And then I want to talk about, is toxic masculinity so bad and can perving do good for the world? And I want to talk about cosmetic change versus real change. So these are the 6 big philosophical, possible, preachy, boring ideas which I am trying to hide inside gags. So let's get started, ladies and gentlemen, with the very first one of them, which is people tired of hearing about race and saying that they feel that their history is being erased. So there's been a lot of complaints in newspapers, and anytime race comes up, people are like, we're tired of hearing about race. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And I don't know what lives these people are living, that racism and people discussing racism are just jumping out at them at every corner. They turn around the corner and someone jumps out and says, freedom for my rights. I don't understand. I looked through newspapers and I found 3 different newspapers, and I couldn't find any articles which were about race. Well, I found one article which was tangentially related to race, and I was like, where is this race? These people are just being like stalked by race discussions everywhere. And I think that one of the things I was thinking about is like they want warning. They want a warning whenever race is coming up, right? They want and then I was like, how do I talk about this? Because I always feel like you've got to be able to make the point in a way that people who disagree with you find it funny, not just people who agree with you, okay? So one of the things I thought about was, one of the contentious issues was the idea of taking down statues, right? And a lot of people are like, you're erasing our history. You're erasing our history. So how I think I might tackle it in the show is I might talk about dating someone, right? And when I showed up, I saw she had a statue in her hallway. And I asked, who is this? And it's her ex. And I'm just like, how can you have a statue of your ex? I mean, that's a lot to live up to. It's just like, oh, he left me. And either it will be that, or it will be working at an office, right? Working at an office. And when you show up, they've got a shrine to the person who previously held the position you are about to go into. And so this might be a very absurd situation where I can talk about the idea of removing the past when it's no longer appropriate, in a way that perhaps I could sneak past people who are inherently defensive with me, suggesting that them not wanting their history erased is absurd. Because there's so many absurd things which I could talk about, which are only funny to people who agree with me. Like, so I could talk about things like, oh, they say they're erasing history. They're erasing your history. Is that how you learn history? You just stand near a statue and you just absorb a bunch of facts. I could make fun of all sorts of things, but I think they're only funny to people who agree with me. So what I'm going to be exploring is ways to make it funny for everybody. I also kind of want to talk about people who've never read 1984 using it as a reference, right? Because you could get to see this a lot of time. You're like, oh, you can't say anything anymore. This is 1984. And I'm like, you have never read the book. He was not on your side. George Orwell was not on your side. It's like the people who are like, really selfish and like capitalist. They quote Jesus. And I'm like, he was not on your side, dude. I think you got to choose someone who was on your side if you're using quotes. So this is sort of what I'm going to be exploring. But as always, the danger is, especially when you talk about race, is that you're simply preaching to the converted, which is nothing wrong with that. You can make a good amount of money, and you can, in fact, there are a lot of people whose entire job is preaching to people who agree with them. It's just not what I want to do, because I also know that I have a broad audience. Because of things like Britain's Got Talent, I get people from either side of the spectrum coming to watch me. And I don't want to only entertain half of them. And I also want to sneak in some of my ideas to people who disagree with me, which is why I consider this, while somebody who, for example, has a all lefty audience or an all right-wing audience doesn't have to worry about. Okay, let's move on to the next one, which I want to talk about, right? And this is a very hard one, because people get very defensive, and I want to talk about people who say George Lucas or J.K. Rowling or Roald Dahl ruined their childhood, ruined their childhood. And I'm like, your childhood is in the past, right? Something which you loved in the past, right? You've had those good moments. Unless they had a time traveling machine, they could not travel back and ruin your childhood right now. Also, if finding out something about a person who wrote a book you loved, or not liking the sequels that George Lucas makes, ruins your childhood. Your childhood was too good anyway, okay? Some of our childhoods were ruined by dirty uncles, okay? I wish my childhood could just be ruined by somebody writing a book. So I want to talk about that, but people get very defensive because a lot of people are very emotionally attached to some piece of pop culture which they loved in their childhood, and then they have trouble dealing with revelations about the person who wrote it, which is something which I couldn't care less about. But because I want to be sensitive about it, I got to think about how I approach it. The other thing is, there's this idea which they have, like I love an author, Orson Scott Card, right? And yesterday on the radio, I talked about how much I loved one of his books, and someone messaged me about how they don't like his opinions, and by saying that I love his book, I am condoning his opinions. And I'm like, I'm not that bothered, but also I didn't know that's what buying a book means. I didn't know that if I buy Dr. Seuss, right, or if I buy The Big Friendly Giant by Roald Dahl, for example, I am condoning everything the man believes. That's not how buying a book works. And maybe the joke will be that I'll talk about this, and then I'll say, because every single one of you who bought the ticket to my Daliso Chaponda show, all of you believe that, and then I need something ridiculous that they all now believe, right? Like, you all now believe that Malawians should rule the world, or you all now believe, like, something. Anyway, so that's possibly how I will talk about it without talking about it. So that's the second one. And then the third one, which I want to talk about, is about, this is a very tough one, right? Money makes you sexist. Now, let me tell you where the idea comes from. Then let me tell you the jokes I've written about this, okay? So the idea comes from the fact that I like to think of myself as a, kind of woke fellow, kind of reasonable fellow, pro-feminism. I've always thought I'm a very understanding man, but I found that I was becoming increasingly sexist because of money, right? And I know somebody else who the same thing happened to. Let me explain, okay? So there came a time when I was in a relationship where somebody, for a reason beyond their control, could no longer work, right? And so I was like, okay, I'll help you out for a few months while you look for a job. And then I was helping them out, and it would be easy if I was wealthy. But when you are helping people out and it's hurting, right? It's really interesting how you start to feel entitled, right? Because after like 5 or 6 months, I was like, this woman's never going to get a job, right? I got really frustrated because I was like, I can't afford to pay my rent and her rent. It's driving me crazy. And I was stressed out about it. And then when I saw her, right, I remember there was one time, this is probably the most sexist thought I've had in my brain, right? Where she was like, she wasn't in the mood for sex. And in my head, I was like, I'm your employee. I've been paying your rent. You better do something, right? And there was this angry kind of, which I never would have had before, but because I was paying, and I was very interesting because there's always often a relationship between finances and relationships, which creates all these imbalances of power. So that's not the joke. That's what inspired me to start writing jokes about this, which I want to sneakily approach without pissing off the audience or making people think I'm a horrible person, right? So the first joke is this, okay? When I was younger, I used to judge people. I remember going to a bar, seeing a beautiful 20-year-old with a fat 60-year-old, right? And I thought to myself, look at that gold digger! Gold digger! She take me money when I'm in need. But now I'm older, I realized you can't judge people anymore. People are complicated, right? People are complicated. It's not black and white. Now if I walk into a bar with a 20-year-old, no, sorry. Now if I walk into a bar and I see a beautiful 20-year-old, I just think to myself, I hope she's a gold digger, because that's my only chance, right? So that's the first layer of the joke. Then I sort of might do a routine where I start exploring the idea of gold digging. Because why do we judge people for being gold diggers, right? Think about it. Maybe everything that people use to decide who to date is kind of shallow, right? Why are we so hard on choosing finances, right? How is it more shallow to want to date someone because they have money than to want to date someone because they've got a nice set of abs or lovely breasts? Do you know what I mean? What's more shallow? Also, what makes more sense? Think about it, right? Over time, breasts sag, right? Over time, abs, what would you say? You don't say they stab, but people lose them, right? People lose them as they get older. Muscles shrink, right? Bank accounts grow, right? So if anything, the cleverest person here is the gold digger, because they are choosing their partner based on something that has a potential to grow as time goes on, right? But then I also want to think about, I don't know how I'll put it in, but something about how, well, historically, there've been a lot of female gold diggers because men historically have had all the gold. They've had all the gold. So what you going to do if you want to get the gold? You got to go gold digger, right? Now, this is something to do with that, right? But then I also want to talk about this situation where what happens when you are a gold provider who no longer has the gold, right? So I'm thinking of doing a joke possibly about something like a sugar daddy trying to renegotiate with his sugar baby because of the coronavirus, right? Because it's no longer quite as easy to provide what he used to provide. And he's like, yo, girl, yo, check this out. I'm going through hard times. Sugar baby don't give a fuck. She's just like, look, this is the arrangement. You can't change the arrangement, right? So these are kind of things which I may explore, which sort of will go there. And then I also kind of want to do a joke about envying assholes, right? Why do I say I envy assholes? Because the one reason I can't actually complain about the situation that I was in is that nobody forced me to support this person, right? At any moment, I could have said, well, you're on your own. Tough luck. Good luck with your starvation and poverty. Nobody forced me to do it, right? But I felt obligated to do it because it was someone I loved who had hit into hard times. And there's a part of me which even while I was doing it, and I was like, oh, I can't afford to do this. In my head, I was envying assholes because they're assholes who could not care less. When somebody who's in their life is in hard time, they're like, well, tough luck for you. Sucks to be you. And there's this thing where I kind of want to talk about how, I don't know how to say it, that I don't think I'm a good person because I do the good stuff I think I should do, but I don't have a good time doing it. Right? I like to think that there are people who do the good thing. They give the money to charity and they feel joy, right? They're supportive to people who need support and they feel joy. I do it because I know I should. I'm religious and I know I should, but I never enjoy doing it. And I envy the assholes who don't have to do it, which is a little bit of a weird paradox. So that's the first three. Let's take a little bit of a transition. Take a look in the comments and see what people have to say today. Good to have you here. Hello from Indonesia, Mr. Smile. Very good to have you in the house. I see you're a fan of the Among Us game. What is it? Enemies Among Us or something like that? Tell me the name of it because I see that is your profile. Hello, what's up? Sorry you slept on my live stream yesterday. It's like 3 a.m. right now back in your place. Escudero, you are not forced to come watch the live stream. You don't have to be like injecting yourself with caffeine. It is entirely lovely when you can make it. You're very welcome when you can. Other times you can either catch up on the YouTube video or not. So lovely to have you in the house, Escudero. Good to have you here. Watching me at 3 a.m. I'm so impressed. I am doing well, Jacob Langham. Hello in the house. Hello. Hello, Daliso, what did I have where? What did I have? I'm not sure what question this was. How can you watch both of me? You says Assassin Ali. Oh, because Assassin Ali now has a Barca game. I should have told you. I don't know if you're still here, but my videos all go on YouTube after the stream. So you can just catch up on the stream. Hello. Good to have you here, Mr. Smile. Hello, Jacqueline Boylan. Hola! What's happening? What's going on? Let's keep going, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Smile talking to a lot of people. Hello, thank you for calling me a legend. Sikalinda. Wonderful to have you in the house. Yes, Sarah Hall. Panda is doing his own show because he has seen that Chelsea is doing really well on TikTok, and she had him as a guest on her TikTok, which inspired him to start his own TikTok, right? So right now he's making TikTok videos. That's what's going on in the background, ladies and gentlemen. Hello to you. Reminds you of your ex. You mean, damn, college is not easy. I've had to finish my thesis, my reports, etc. And boom. Okay, I'm not sure what you're referring to, but thank you for the messages. Okay, that's how we're doing. Jacqueline said, thank you for putting the cornflakes the right way around. Well, people kept complaining, right? People kept complaining. So there was a point where I had to turn it around, right? Same thing as when the closets are open. I'm not bothered if the cabinets are open, but a lot of people complain, so I have to give in, okay? Love your comedy. Thank you. Glad you have it. What have I been doing since AGT? Well, I did BGT. I have been touring nonstop. I've got a radio show called I've got a radio show called Citizen of Nowhere, which you can listen to for free on BBC. I have a DVD, which you can watch on Amazon Prime or Next Up. So I've been very busy writing, performing nonstop. And then, boom, Corona said, stop, hammer time, right? So ever since Corona said, stop, hammer time, I've been waiting for life to resume, just streaming shows, just doing little bits and bobs here and there. But I won't be able to tour again and really resume my job until, we can, live entertainment is once more fully available. Hence why I'm doing this. Thank you for the question, Roham Mecheri. Very good to have you in the house. I was already sexist the moment I started paying her rent. Very interesting, Jacqueline Boylan. So I shouldn't have paid her rent when she asked me to pay her rent? I'm not sure I understand. Okay, let's keep going. Perhaps I should have just said, you're screwed. But she asked! Explain what I should have done to not be sexist when somebody loses their job, has trouble. You're a lady and asks you for help? Should you just say, you're on your own, girl? Okay, next up. You like the gold digger bit. I'm glad you enjoyed it. You can tell there's a financial crisis when you see planes flying over Birmingham, tossing fish and chip out the window. Darth Eglow quoting my 2017 BGT joke. Glad to have you in the house and glad you remember it. I always love it when people remember gags from way back. Interesting. James Holster says talk about a male gold digger. Yes, because they're male gold diggers. They're like a rising profession. I would almost need to find one and interview them about the difficulties. Actually, I do know one male gold digger. Well, I know, no, I won't call it. There's one good-looking fellow I knew in high school who is probably the equivalent of a male gold digger because he goes from wealthy woman to wealthy woman. I need to give him a little call and find out what are the perils and the oddities of being a male gold digger. Okay, let's check this out. Good afternoon to you, Hernandez. Good to have you in the house. Hello. Somebody said Daliso, very excited. Good to have you in the house. Finlay, good to have you back, Finlay. Finlay used to be a regular, and then I haven't seen Finlay for a while, so welcome back to the CoronaCast. We missed you. Okay, let's see what's going on in the house. Simon suggested, and you agreed, that I'm at the level that I should have my own TV shows. Were there any invitations? No, it's a private subject. Ree Hernandez. I indeed, I've been on a lot of TV shows. I've been on things like QI, but I've not actually currently been able to get one of my television shows approved. What happens is, even if you've had some little bit of a moment of exposure or popularity with doing Britain's Got Talent or something similar, you still have to pitch it to TV channels, and then one of the channels has to make the risk, right? I came very close with a certain channel which was very excited by one of my ideas, but you got to understand, they're going to invest a lot. Like, to make 6 episodes, they had to invest £3 million, right? And after a lot of negotiation and so on and so forth, they did not feel that it was worth the risk. And so the jokes which I had written for that TV show ended up being used in my radio show, which I absolutely love. It doesn't pay the absurd amount the television one would, but it's got all of my best jokes, and to this day is the best thing I've written, Citizen of Nowhere. So I don't have a TV show, but I'm going to get one because like, I was nominated for an award for the radio show, and I always think as long as you keep being good and you keep putting out good material, eventually you will get everything. Just it might not be as quick as you would want it to be. So it's coming. Don't worry, Rui Fernandez. It's coming. It might be in 2021. It might be in 2025, but I'll still be funny all the way. Okay, let's see. What else are we going here? Any tips of how to get myself a cougar, says Sean Alexander. And thank you so much for the Ko-fi contribution yesterday. People very, very appreciated. Oh, I didn't even put the little banner. That's how bad a marketer I am. If you see over there, ladies and gentlemen, anybody who wants to support me as very generously Sean Alexander did yesterday, you can do it via the following links. Thank you so much. But anyway, to your question, you're trying to get tips on how to get a cougar. The only thing is, a cougar is an older lady who looks for a very young man. So I think I am past the point where cougars would be looking for me as a target, right? I think cougars are looking for the 20-year-olds. They're looking for the 23-year-old. They're looking for the muscular 23-year-old. I have missed my cougar moment. Actually, I did have a cougar moment. When I was 25. I suppose you could call her a cougar. She was maybe 10 years older, but I didn't think of her as a cougar at the time. Okay, here we go. What are we doing? How about comparing dating and growing up in Malawi versus America or Great Britain? Suzanne Yankee, I have done that many times. That is an often recurring theme. Nabil almost called, but realized I might be here. Nabil's in the house, ladies and gentlemen. BGT finalist from this year and brilliant comedian. Good to have him in the house. We still have to do a streamed interview. I was planning to do a streamed interview with Nabil. We need to make it happen because it would be amazing. Do I like sugar daddies? I am a sugar daddy, baby. I'm a sugar daddy, right? And unintentionally, I have 3 sugar babies. Apparently, no, well, not 3 sugar babies, but I have 3 people who I help financially on occasion, who at some point I had sex with. And I don't know how this happened, right? It's just friends who. Now, my question is, but I also help someone who I didn't sleep with. So I don't think it applies. I'm just someone who is very bad at saying no when someone asks for help. Oh, no, I shouldn't have confessed this, because now everybody watching who needs help is going to be like, hey, Daliso, help out, help out, help out. I just always feel like if you can help, why not help? Which is a very bad trait to have. In fact, when I was a little kid, I remember being yelled at by my parents because they'd bought me this nice bicycle for Christmas, right? And look, they bear part of the blame because they used to make me go to church every week. They used to make me go to Sunday school, and some of the things changed my opinion of the world. So I have this new fancy bike, and I meet this little kid in Nairobi, this is in Kenya, right, who every day walks to school, right? So he used to go to a rural school, and he used to walk like for, I don't know, like over an hour to school every day. And here was I with my fancy bike who gets dropped by my parents at school. And I'm like, hey, well, I don't need this bike to get to school. Here's the bike. Gave him the bike, the expensive bike, which my parents has bought. And then I was ratted out by someone who saw me give the bike to them. And my parents yelled at me, how could you give away the bike? How could you give away? I was like, but the Bible says. I bet at that moment my parents were like, stop sending him to Sunday school. No more church for you. So this is the sort of thing which happens. Nabil says, can we sacrifice Chelsea to the Illuminati? She will not mind. I think this is a brilliant idea, Nabil. We can get to the next level. We can get to Jay-Z level. I recommend actually... No. Look, Chelsea, let her have a bit of fun. I think we give her another 2 weeks to live her life, and then we sacrifice her. I propose the 14th of November, Nabil. We'll set this up. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let us do the final 3 subjects, the final 3 big ideas, which I am trying to turn into jokes, and then I'm going to have one final comment look at. Okay, one final little. So keep asking questions, keep making comments. I'm going to talk about these 3, and then I'm going to get there. So, somewhat related, I wanted to talk about if exploitation has got a price. Now, it's a very big idea. Let me explain where it comes from. So, there was a time when I was offered a role in a panto, right? I was offered a role in a panto. It was a lot of money they were offering me, but on reading the script, I realized the character they were offering me was Simple Sam, who's sort of like a dumb kind of character who gets laughs by being dumb like a Forrest Gump, right? So he's a lovable, dumb character. Nothing wrong with a lovable, dumb character. Only problem was, upon exploration, I realized that every other character in the panto was white, and I would be the one dumb black person. And even though they didn't intend it, I'm not saying that they're racist, but they didn't intend it. But the way it would look and the sort of things that it would connote would be pretty negative, right? It would be harkening back to another time when the only black characters you saw were subservient and dumber than the white characters. And I was like, I can't be in this play. And then they offered a bit more money, right? And then I was like, ooh, I can't be in this play anymore. And they didn't offer any more money, but I realized that there would have been a certain amount of money they could have offered where I would have been like, sorry, black community, we got to take it because I need to get paid, right? And it's always very interesting because I actually think there are a lot of things which I understand if a lot of money is involved, right? When a lot of people accuse people of coonery, right? They say, hey, you're being a cool, you're being an Uncle Tom. I'm like, are they being an Uncle Tom, or are they being financially intelligent, right? How much money were they offered to do that role? How much money were they offered to sing that song? Where you've got to understand, we all have our politics and we all have our beliefs, but we also got bills, baby, right? In fact, I've been in debt because of the coronavirus. If I could go back in time and call Daliso Chaponda, I would have said, take that racist role. You're going to need the money in 2020. But I didn't see 2020 coming, so I didn't take it, right? They also broadened that to a thing I want to talk about, where I've realized there are a lot of things which I am against only when they pay badly, right? Like prostitution. People will ask me, am I pro-prostitution or am I against prostitution? And I actually think it's complicated, because prostitution, such as in Malawi, where you have a lot of women who are paid horrible amounts by very exploitative men, right? In that situation, I'm very against it, right? Because I'm like, this is horrible, right? But if they were being paid a lot, or if we're in a society where people are being paid a lot for the sex, then I'm pro-prostitution. So I've realized my issue is not actually with the act of people selling their bodies. My issue is with the amount of money offered, right? That is to say that if anybody is watching in the Corona cast who for some reason wants to have sex with me and has a lot of money, it's negotiable, okay? We can make this shit happen, but you better have a lot of money. No, but this is my entire thing, is that we've got our beliefs, but we also live in a world which is not perfect. So what you got to do is sometimes you just have to be exploited for the right price. Okay, so that's sort of what I want. One of the things which I'm going to be exploring in my next touring show. And then the other one, which I kind of wanted to talk about, is the idea of toxic masculinity and how there's a big backlash about toxic masculinity. A lot of people often talk about how horrible masculinity is, and they are right. But also at the same time, I would say you have got to consider some of the positives, right? Before you tear the whole thing down, think of the positives that have been brought. Now, I don't want to preach at people, right? So I'm trying to think of funny ways into it, right? Because things like aggression, things like perviness are generally bad, but there are some rare configurations where there are positives, such as a chat. This is one of the examples I might use. When I was young, I was around 13 or 14, there was a young, very, I wouldn't say she was dumb, but she was yeah, she was dumb. There's no way around it. Okay. She was terrible. Let's just say she was terrible at math, terrible at English, terrible at history. She was terrible academically. Maybe she had superior emotional intelligence or morality, but when it came to academics, she was dumb as hell, right? And the teachers had tried everything, and the teachers were losing patience with her, and the teachers were so frustrated. But I was like a young, warm-blooded person attracted to this hot young person, and I was an A student, and I volunteered to be her tutor. This was not out of the goodness of my heart. This was motivated by perviness. Right? And because of perviness, I don't even know how many hours I sat with this girl. Like teaching her like basic quadratic equations again and again and again, and teaching her, and she passed. And I won't say that she passed because of me, but I definitely helped. And I won't say she passed because of my perviness, but the perviness definitely helped. So before we tear it down, we got to think about the positive things that the toxic masculinity has brought into our lives. Okay. And then the final topic, which I kind of want to talk about, but I don't really have any jokes about yet, but I want to talk about cosmetic change versus real change, right? Because often after movements like Black Lives Matter or after the Me Too movement, there's often you are thrown a bone, right? There'll be things like, oh, okay, we're going to change things. So what we're going to do now is we're going to introduce we're going to get rid of blackface in some old television show from 30 years ago. Or, oh, we're going to make Aunt Jemima no longer Aunt Jemima, and or we got to change the words of the prompts, which is not real societal change, right? It's not real societal change, right? And it's one of those things where you're thrown a bone, but not only that, it's a distraction. I often feel like there's a magician, and I know it's not organic. That would be very conspiracy theorist, but I always feel like it creates lots of debate. Right, so there's a big backlash. People saying they're erasing our history, all this, people yelling and screaming, but nobody gives a fuck about Aunt Jemima. Or I don't give a like. I care about school curriculums. I care about budgets. I care about how certain areas, councils in ethnic areas are not getting funded the same way as if you look at a very white, very posh area. I care about these real things, and instead we're having a big fight over this cosmetic nonsense which doesn't matter. And I'm like, it's intelligent as hell, because then all of the debate, all of the backlash is over nonsense. And even if in the end they lose and say, okay, you convinced us with your Black Lives Matter stuff, okay, fine, we're getting rid of Uncle Ben. So what? That was never the problem in the first place, right? Uncle Ben never stopped me and asked me ridiculous questions when I'm in an airport. That there, ladies and gentlemen, is all of the topics which I am looking at. We're going to take a look at the final questions before we call the Corona Cast for today and out. If you have any questions or comments, this is your last opportunity to get them in. So type away, type fast. Sarah Hall asks, what was Chelsea doing with Panda on TikTok? So Chelsea is blowing up on TikTok. She makes videos. Follow her at Chelsea Hard is me, but she also sometimes does lives, right? Where she just sits and talks and answers questions, sort of like I'm doing right now. And on one of her lives, she had the panda with her.
Oh, I had it one time, and now they always want
Oh, she had it one time. Now everybody asked for the panda. It's the same way that I had the panda once as a joke. Panda the pandemic. I did one joke. Right? Pandemic the panda. Once. Now he's my sidekick, because every time the panda's not there, people are like, where the panda? The panda is the real star of this apartment, not me, not Chelsea. It's very frustrating. Okay. Here we go. Daliso the sugar daddy says, Marlene, ha 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 ha. I don't know how this happened. You have no idea the direct debits which go out of my account every month. And I'm like, how did this happen? Like, here we go. Nabil says, whenever I'm ready, let's schedule it now. What date? In fact, we can even ask people what date would be good. Actually, you know what? I'll call you after the show and we'll set up a show. We'll advertise it a bunch and we'll do it properly. We'll do like an actual, maybe like a Zoom thing, and we could do a discussion and jokes and all sorts of that. Sounds like a plan. Okay, what are we doing here? Hello from Area 25 in Lilongwe. Now, a lot of people don't know the area system in Malawi. All the different areas are called Area 4, Area 5. My question is, whatever happens in Area 42? Oh, it's not 42. What is it in America, Chelsea?
Huh?
Area where they have the aliens. 51. Area 51. What happened in Area 51 in Malawi? That's what I want to know. Okay, here we go. Hey Nabil, someone says maybe a special for the Patreons. That sounds like a good idea, actually, because Nabil's got Patreons, I've got Patreons. We could do a special for the Patreons. Sounds like a grand plan. We'll discuss it. Okay, let's see what's going on. Which country is more racist, Malawi or the UK? Says Kama Matiti. The UK by a country mile. Okay, what else have we got here? In the chat, prostitution is the oldest profession known to man. I actually used to do a joke about this assertion. Why is prostitution the oldest profession? Is there proof? Before hunting? Before gathering? Right? Is there some cave painting I don't know about? Right? Which exists somewhere where someone's looking at a picture which an Australopithecus drew, and they're like, oh, look, over here we have a hunter, clearly, with a spear and some meat, and a woman. Oh, that's not a spear. Some kind of trade is going on. That's the oldest profession. I've always heard this assertion. I'm not sure about it. Excellent. Here, as an actor, you are taught not to think about these things. Your job would be to play the role as cast. not concern yourself about the overall perception of the show. That is true, Jacqueline Boylan. But I personally, especially because I have, well, I don't even know if I have it now, but let's say pre-corona, I had a following, and I would not want to. It's a weird thing. You feel a sort of like when you get like a platform, you can't say the same nonsense you said before, right? And this is actually part of the reason why I think it's always odd when they go canceling people over stuff they did 15 years ago, because before you have a platform, you don't feel that responsibility, right? And sometimes the responsibility is pretty irritating in a way. Like, for example, anytime now I am invited on a TV show or a radio station to discuss something, I don't just represent me, right? I represent the Black community. I would like to just represent Daliso. Then I could say some dumb, funny stuff, get a laugh, and leave. But because there's often like just one Black person on this show discussing some big issue, you've got to say something funny, insightful, but you've also got to represent more than just yourself, right? So that's why I wouldn't necessarily want to be in a panto and be representing something negative just because at the time I had a following I didn't want to let down. Am I still looking for that citizenship, Rui Fernandez? Referring, of course, to a joke, which I did. I probably will be a British citizen within the next month. My application is being processed. Okay. Lisa, did I just say the F word? I sometimes swear. People often are surprised when I swear. I guess because I don't do it a lot, but I do it often in jokes. Okay, let's keep going. You really like me, Alex? Well, I hope you got a budget because I am available. I know you were just saying that I am funny. Okay, how are we doing? Okay, any final question? What is Ruiz saying here? A pool in the USA asking if they knew your country, Portugal. Everybody thought that it was a province of Spain. Really? You owned half the world in the 16th century, for Christ's sake. It's entirely true. I don't understand. Like, you need better press. I mean, Portuguese are the great. Don't you know your greatest press right now is Nando's? When am I coming to Ghana, says Gevans? Probably as soon as coronavirus is over. So I'm planning my UK tour to start probably at the end of January. The amount of tickets per show will be determined by where the virus is by then. So it might be something like we only sell, 200 tickets for a 600 seater, or it might be more, it might be less, depending on what the guidelines are then. So I'm going to do a UK tour. Then when the UK tour is over, probably be January, February, March, April, maybe, then maybe May onwards, I'm going to do an African tour. I'm going to do an African tour, and Ghana will undoubtedly be a stop because I'm doing Nigeria, and I think the promoter probably has Ghana connections. So that's the plan. That's the plan. More to come. Join the mailing list on africancomedian.com if you want an email when I'm doing your town. CoronaCast Comedy Show or CoronaCast. I say the former, but the banner says the latter. This is entirely true. It's the CoronaCast Comedy Show, but I didn't make the banner. This was made by this lovely comedian called Carl Joshua Ngube, and that's what he put in. And I don't know how to change it, so that's what it is. And you can't ask people to change a favor. If you hire someone, you can ask them, but you can't ask someone to change a favor. That is the issue. Indeed. Darth Eglo says, can me and you have a cup of tea one day? I'm sure we can. If I'm touring in your city before the show or after the show, we can do a cup of tea or something like that. I often will chill with people who are fans. It happens. It's very achievable. Okay, how are we doing? I'm pretty funny. I'm glad you enjoy my show. And finally, we have some hearts from Suzanne Yankee. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say thank you for tuning in for the CoronaCast Comedy Show. It was actually 18 minutes longer than usual, so you got a little bit of bonus. Tomorrow is not a CoronaCast, but I am in the Levy Fringe doing a preview. I will say again, it is not like this where some of the jokes are funny, some of the jokes aren't. It is jokes which have been rewritten. Also, it's sort of like the best of the CoronaCast plus other stuff plus. Anyway, it's a show. It's an actual show. While on the way to a show, it's the first of 10 or so. There'll probably be around 15 before the show is done because I rewrite a lot. But if you want to come for the beginning, it is tomorrow. They have 26 tickets left. I don't know how many they're selling altogether. You can go to the Levy Fringe website. I will post it as a comment there. I wanted to make it a banner, but no one can see all of that bloody text. Just go to the Levy Fringe, Levy Fringe. If you want to buy a ticket, they're only £3.50, and you get to see two comedians, myself and Lauren Patterson, trying out jokes, trying out a tour show. Thank you so much. It's been a delight, and good night. Good night. Good night.